The following clips were all recorded by the same man inside his apartment, and taken together, they paint a picture of a haunting that isn't just persistent, it's responsive. He'd been dealing with this for a while, and you can hear it in his voice from the very first moment he starts filming. The activity had become routine enough that his reaction wasn't panic, it was exhaustion. One night, he set his phone down on a surface in the living room, pointed at a short hallway and a closed white-paneled door at the end of it, and then the banging started. Watch.
Here we go with this shit again. We're just gonna wait and see how long it goes. It's never nuts. Stop! Okay, that works.
What you just heard was violent, rhythmic, and relentless, something hammering the door from the other side with enough force to rattle it in its frame. But the moment that stops people in the comments isn't the banging itself. It's what happens when he shouts, "Just stop." The noise cuts off instantly, and then the door swings open on its own into darkness. Not a slow creak, a deliberate, smooth, inward swing, like something on the other side had been listening the whole time. That response, action, command, compliance, is what separates this from a random disturbance. Many who study cases of intelligent haunting point to exactly this kind of exchange as evidence that whatever is present isn't just generating energy randomly, but is aware of the person in the room with it. Skeptics, though, weren't satisfied, and after the clip spread, one viewer left a comment pointing out the coaxial cable running near the door, suggesting it could explain the whole thing mechanically. The man didn't ignore it. Watch.
This is the cord in question, the coax cable, and you can see here it goes directly from here down to my Wi-Fi. So I could, I guess, open it like this, but one, I would probably be in the way of the camera here since I'm standing here, but let's try and test this. Here's the door latched all the way shut. I mean, I'm pulling on that pretty hard and it doesn't come out. But if I were to do this and open it, that just kind of pulls the Wi-Fi back. So, I mean, if this cord was the thing that was pulling it, this probably would have knocked off, but I don't know.
He walks through the whole setup deliberately, showing how the cable runs along the baseboard, up the wall, and past the door frame. He even demonstrates that pulling it straight doesn't open the door. It only works if you grab the cable at a very specific angle, close to the knob, and pull downward. He admits himself he's not entirely sure it rules anything out, and that honesty is actually harder to dismiss than a flat denial would be. Because if you watch the original clip again with that explanation in mind, the physics still feel off. The door opens smoothly, without any visible tension on the cable, and nothing appears to pull the knob downward. It didn't settle the debate, it deepened it. Then the banging came back.
Oh. Kidding me?
This time the crucifix that had been hanging on the wall comes off during the noise and lands on the rug. He pans down to find it, picks it up, holds it to the camera. His reaction is a short, disbelieving laugh, followed by, "You gotta be fucking kidding me," which, honestly, feels like the only reasonable thing to say. The detail that lingers isn't just that a religious object fell, it's that it fell during the most violent episode of banging yet, and it didn't come down gradually. It was knocked loose. In a lot of paranormal traditions, particularly in folk Catholicism and broader Western demonology, a presence targeting or displacing a crucifix is considered a signal of something adversarial, something that doesn't just tolerate sacred objects being nearby. Whether you believe in that framework or not, the pattern here is hard to ignore. The activity is escalating. It responds to direct commands, and now it's making its feelings about what's on the wall very clear. So what exactly is living on the other side of that door? In this next clip, a man is filming inside what appears to be his home late at night when something knocks on his front door, loud, deliberate, 3 heavy strikes with no hesitation between them. He calls out in Spanish, asking who's there. Nothing answers back. Then the knocks come again, just as forceful as before, and this time he moves toward the door, turns the lock, and pulls it open. The stairwell on the other side is completely dark. Watch.
¿Quién?
At the bottom of those dark stairs, a small figure draped entirely in white suddenly lurches into view, child-sized, hunched, moving fast, and at the exact same moment, a high-pitched laugh echoes up from the stairwell, distorted in a way that doesn't quite sound right. The man's camera swings violently to the right as he gasps, and for the rest of the clip, you can hear him breathing hard, whispering Dios mo, my God, while the camera shakes against the corner under the stairs. Some viewers immediately dismissed it as a prank, someone in a sheet timing a scare, and the laugh does carry that slightly rehearsed quality, but others pointed to the knocking pattern itself. 2 rounds, no voice, no response, and found it harder to explain away. So, what was waiting on the other side of that door? The following clips were recorded inside what appears to be a private home, and taken together, they suggest something unusual has been happening with the lighting throughout the property. Not a one-time flicker, not a dying bulb, but a pattern that keeps repeating across different rooms. In the first clip, a handheld camera moves through a darkened space, eventually settling on a ceiling light fixture, casting a warm glow across wallpaper, covered in large cream-colored floral patterns. The room is completely silent, no ambient hum, no electrical buzz, nothing you'd normally expect from a space with active wiring. Watch.
Okay, I'm sitting here on my own and the light has just started to come on and off on its own. This is unreal. Oh no. As you can see, there's my light switch. I've got goosebumps all over my body. What? What's going on? What the? It's still doing it, what? Won't even turn off. I turn it off and it's been turned back on. Oh, come on, let's get out of here, man. Let's go.
The light begins to dim on its own, dropping rapidly until only the orange glow of the filament is visible inside the shade, then snapping back to full brightness. And this cycle repeats multiple times without anyone touching the switch. At one point, the camera holds steady on the wall, switch itself, and you can see clearly it doesn't move even as the room goes completely dark around it. That detail is hard to dismiss. Some believe light disturbances like this are one of the most common early signs of a presence trying to interact with the physical environment, drawing on electrical energy as a communication method, a theory that's been discussed in paranormal circles for decades. Skeptics will point to faulty wiring or a failing dimmer, and that's a reasonable explanation. But it doesn't sit easily with how controlled the dimming looks, almost deliberate rather than erratic. The second clip appears to be recorded in the same home, this time in a different room, where a closed interior door with frosted glass panels separates the dark space the camera occupies from a room beyond that's lit by a single warm overhead source. For over a minute, the camera holds still on that door, and if you watch the light through the frosted glass, you'll notice it shifting and dimming in a way that mirrors exactly what happened in the first clip. Watch.
I appreciate all the effort you put in, but I don't like white chocolate. I don't like fruit and chocolate, but biscuit base is really nice. Can we eat that?
Really? Great. It took a long time to that biscuit base, and so used to.
Sorry.
Never mind, Wayne. Time for the scores.
The bacon was too thin, the main course was lovely, and the dessert for me was a total flop. And for that reason, 6.
There was less laughs than last night, but I thought the menu was great, the food was great. I really enjoyed it, so I'm going to have to give Wayne an 8.
The dessert I thought was amazing, brought out the bag, lots of detail, but the hosting and the rest was a bit stilted and a bit uncomfortable, so I'll give it a 6.
Wayne's still done.
Oh my God, caught you.
Taking the lead with 20.
Well, we all had hangovers today. A busy night last night. I do feel like I'm a winner this evening.
All the hairs on my arms have just stood up, man. What did that just open? The news going to do it again.
The flower that's been trodden on, then perhaps weed on by a dog.
It's too hot for Kev in the kitchen.
Whoa. Whoa there, Leslie.
And Wayne rubs Andrea up the wrong way.
Oh, my napkin, it was like a cheeky bit.
Freshen up with your dinner party.
Can't believe that door just opened again, man. My hairs on my arms are standing up like white. I got it on camera. I got it on camera. You got it, mate?
A man in a t-shirt eventually enters the frame, opens the door, steps into the lit room, and closes it behind him. And after he does, the camera pans quietly through the darkened space, past a sofa, past a doorway where a dog is resting on its bedding, before settling on an open laptop. Nothing dramatic follows, but that's almost what makes it harder to explain, because the flickering isn't attached to any one moment or any one room. It keeps happening, quietly, throughout the house, and no one in either clip seems to have found a reason for it yet. Now in this next clip, a man working a late shift at a bodega ora, a large warehouse-style supermarket, decides to film an aisle that's been making him uneasy. You can hear it in his voice before anything even happens. Speaking in Spanish, he explains that noises have been coming from this particular aisle for a while, and that he's been avoiding it because this is the same aisle where he claims something showed up before, something he clearly doesn't want to describe in detail. He's scared just walking toward it. That alone tells you something. He moves slowly down the long corridor of industrial green shelving, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, passing rows of cleaning supplies and bulk toilet paper stacked on pallets. The aisle feels ordinary, but further down, a cluster of empty shopping carts sits waiting, and the camera settles on one green cart, positioned alone in the middle of the aisle. Watch.
Desde hace rato se andan escuchando ruidos de este lado. Nada más que no había querido venir a asomarme porque es que en este maldito pasillo es donde se asomó la cochinada esa, ahí en ese lado de allá. Ahí es donde se asomó y la verdad me da mucho miedo estar viniendo a asomarme para acá. ¿Qué es eso? Se está moviendo el carro. Soy yo, se está moviendo esa mierda. No mames, si se está moviendo. ¿Qué mierda pasa aquí? ¿Qué mierda está pasando? Se está moviendo esa porquería. No te muevas, no te muevas. No, 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 no.
The cart rolls forward on its own, first just a few inches, then stops, then begins rolling again, this time covering more ground and drifting to the right. His voice drops to a panicked whisper. Is it me? Or is that thing moving? The camera lurches sideways as he flinches. He approaches cautiously, still filming, still talking himself through it, and the moment he gets close, the cart starts rocking again, shifting on its wheels as if something is gently pushing it back and forth. His last words before the clip ends are just no, 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 no. Some believe this kind of activity, movement with no wind, no incline, no visible interference, points to a poltergeist, a term that comes from German meaning noisy ghost, typically associated with kinetic disturbances in enclosed spaces. Skeptics will argue a slightly uneven concrete floor could explain a slow roll, but the cart stopping, restarting, and then rocking as he closes in is a lot harder to dismiss with a floor gradient. So what was waiting for him in that aisle, and what did he see there the first time? Now in this next clip, a man finds himself crouched inside what appears to be a crawl space or the understructure of a large building, a narrow, confined darkness that most people wouldn't willingly enter in broad daylight, let alone at night. He's filming on his phone, using the built-in flashlight as his only source of light, and from the moment the clip begins, before he's even switched that light on, you can already hear his breathing, ragged, panicked, the kind that happens when your body knows something is wrong before your mind has caught up. He whispers in Vietnamese, repeating phrases that translate roughly to, "Oh my God, and what is that smell?" The smell registering before anything is even visible. Then he switches on the flashlight, and the beam cuts through a thick cloud of dust to reveal a long, narrow space held up by orange-painted metal supports and concrete pillars. He slowly pans the camera to the right. What? In the far distance of that crawl space, a pale, long-bodied, four-legged creature moves slowly, seemingly unbothered by the light or the man filming it. And that calm is what gets people. A frightened animal runs, but this thing just keeps moving. Skeptics have pointed to ferrets, malnourished cats, or even a pale rat as possible explanations. And it's true the distance and the dust make a clean identification nearly impossible, but others have latched onto the creature's deliberate, almost ritualistic movement, slow, low, indifferent, and drawn comparisons to what some Vietnamese folklore traditions describe as wandering spirits that take on animal forms to inhabit forgotten, hollow spaces beneath structures. Whether that's what he stumbled onto, or whether it's something far more ordinary, the creature paid him absolutely no attention whatsoever. So why was he so convinced it already knew he was there? The following video was recorded back in 2019 by a man's mother after days of insisting that something was inside her house, something she didn't understand, and something her son refused to believe. She kept telling him there was a demon in the house. He brushed it off, told her she was overreacting, that it was all in her head. So that night, when she started hearing noises coming from the kitchen again, she decided to record it. Not because she was sure of what she'd find, but because she wanted proof. Something she could send him, something he couldn't explain away. Watch closely.
In 2019, my mom said she was fighting demons in her apartment. I didn't believe her. She sent me video proof. Now someone tell me what in the grudge shit was going on here. I put picture at end of video, pause it, turn phone upside down and zoom in.
In the top right corner, something appears. It doesn't step out. It doesn't fully reveal itself. It just peeks, a head-like shape, barely visible, emerging for a moment and then pulling back like it knows it's being watched. 1 second it's there, the next, it's gone. Some people believe this is exactly how certain entities operate, especially ones described as demonic, never fully revealing themselves at first, but lingering at the edges, observing, waiting, slowly making their presence known in small, controlled ways. But till this day, what his mother saw that night, whatever kept drawing her attention back to that same part of the kitchen, remains a mystery. But what do you think? In this next video, a woman named Victoria goes down to her basement to check the breaker. A simple task that shouldn't feel out of the ordinary, but in her case, the basement had already started to feel like a place she avoided whenever she could. For weeks leading up to this moment, she had been experiencing something she couldn't fully explain, faint whispers that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once, quiet enough to second guess, yet clear enough to make her stop what she was doing and listen, sometimes sounding like someone trying to speak just out of reach, other times resembling her name being called in a low, almost careful tone. She tried to ignore it, convincing herself it was just the silence playing tricks on her, but deep down, it never really felt that simple. Then one night, she heads down to the basement again. Watch. Out of the silence, a voice says, "Hey," not distorted, not distant, but direct, like it came from right there with her. Some viewers believe moments like this suggest an intelligent presence, something that doesn't just exist in the space, but interacts with it, choosing when to reveal itself and how, starting with whispers before becoming more direct, almost as if it's testing how far it can go. Others warn that voices like this, especially when they sound calm and intentional, can be far more unsettling than loud or chaotic disturbances, because they feel closer, more personal, and harder to dismiss. Now this next video follows a man named Nate, whose experiences seem to trace back to something he unknowingly brought home after working at a cemetery, a place already tied to death, memory, and in some beliefs, lingering presence. Since then, things haven't been normal for him. He's reported waking up with unexplained marks on his body, scratches that appear overnight with no clear cause, and there have been moments where objects in his home, including knives, have been thrown or displaced in ways that feel far too deliberate to ignore, suggesting that whatever is happening isn't just passive, but capable of interacting with its surroundings. Then one morning, he captures this on camera. Watch.
So I was just in the shower, and as I was getting out of the shower and drying off, I heard something or someone run down the stairs. I thought maybe it was a dog, but she is sound asleep on the bed. So that tells me it wasn't her, and it also tells me that she didn't even hear it. So something ran down the stairs. Then I didn't hear anything after that. The front door camera didn't go off, so nobody left. And I checked the back door. Back door's locked. Both locks. Hello? Not sure what that was. This activity has really been ramping up these past few days. And it's honestly been a little unsettling, but both.
After he says hello, a faint response can be heard, almost like something is answering him, acknowledging his presence in a way that feels intentional rather than coincidental. What makes this even more unsettling is the pattern he's noticed, because most of the activity seems to center around specific areas of the house, particularly the kitchen and the basement. On another day, after hearing strange noises coming from the kitchen, he decides to check it out, expecting to find something ordinary. Instead, he sees this. Watch.
Something was banging here in the kitchen. It sounded like something hit the wall or something hit the floor. I heard something. Of course, it's empty. Back door is locked, top and bottom. What the That's up there. I wonder if that's what I heard. What is with the knives and the scissors and the sharp objects? Jesus Christ.
Considering everything Nate has already experienced, the marks, the thrown objects, the voice responding, this moment feels less like an isolated incident and more like a continuation of something that has been building over time, something that is becoming more comfortable, more visible, and possibly more direct in how it makes itself known. And when something answers you, moves things, and leaves marks behind, it raises a much heavier question, not just about what it is, but about how long it has been there and how much further it might go. The following video was recorded inside a gym, a place that's supposed to be full of movement, noise, and activity, but according to Danny, who works there, some of the things he's been experiencing happen when the gym is completely empty, when everything should be still. He's talked about hearing sudden door slams echo through the building, the metallic clanging of bars and dumbbells shifting without anyone nearby, footsteps moving across the stairs, as if someone is going up and down between floors, and even treadmills that seem to start or react on their own, as though something unseen is interacting with the equipment. One night, while staying back to finish some work, something happens. Watch.
Ok, vuelvo a grabar. Ahorita si se dan cuenta las luces ya están apagadas. Vuelvo a grabar porque esto pasa ahora. ¿Viste? O sea, mira, vamos a pensar. Son 10:35. Ahorita ya no debe de haber nadie. No voy a poner ni pausa ni nada. Ajá. Tú lo escuchaste. Yo lo escuché. O sea, veamos. Esa fue una, ¿no? La otra. Tú escuchaste las subidas de escaleras. Como si corrieran. No voy a poner pausa porque la neta me llaman loco, me dicen es el aire, me dicen son tus energías, me dicen madre y media. Pero mira, no estoy loco. No estoy loco. Está cerrado. Está cerrado. Digo, si lo fuerzo no quiero romperlo, pero... No mames. Y si se escucha la música, sí, porque yo no tengo control de la música. Llamarte. Ok. La verdad es que estoy muy nervioso, ¿no? O sea, se me pone la piel chinita. No sé si es mi subconsciente o no, pero yo ya lo estoy sintiendo así como lo escucho. Bueno, no lo escucho, lo siento, ¿no? Es como... No, o sea... mi madre. Me dicen en los comentarios, ignóralo, ¿no? Ignóralo y bueno, vamos a tratar de... de su puta madre. Ay, no, ya.
The heavy punching bags moving, the footsteps, the music, and walking past certain areas only to find equipment positioned in a way that suggests someone had just been using it, even though no one else was there. On another day, while talking about his experiences, he recalls seeing something that made him stop in his tracks. Watch.
Esto lo voy a grabar porque literalmente son cosas que solamente... Bueno, no me pueden pasar únicamente a mí. Y agradezco no ser el único porque la verdad que poca madre. Pero esta es mi área de trabajo. Y ese es el gimnasio. Está cerrado con llave. O sea, como puedes ver está cerrado con llave. Y justo de aquel lado, justo allá, por ahí, se escuchó que algo se movió. O sea, las barras olímpicas... Se escuchó cómo las volvieron a poner ahí en su lugar. Porque cuando las ponen en su lugar tiene un sonido muy específico. Y justamente ahí, lo voy a poner ahí. Esa banca de ahí, cuando yo estoy desde mi escritorio, se alcanza a ver. Y literalmente se vio como alguien se asomó como hacia acá y se volvió a meter, se escondió. Se empezaron a escuchar ruidos, ahorita está la música y tal vez este video tenga copyright, pero se alcanzó a escuchar el sonido y... ¡Ay, puta madre! Ahí está, ahí está, ahí está. No, man.
For a brief moment, something appears to peek out from one of the rooms, not fully stepping into view, but enough to suggest presence, enough to make it clear that whatever he saw wasn't just a trick of the light. After sharing these clips, viewers who recognized the gym began coming forward with their own experiences, mentioning times they felt watched while working out alone, moments where they heard unexplained noises but chose to ignore them, and even instances where they noticed movement in mirrors or reflections that didn't quite match what was happening around them. When multiple accounts begin to align like this, across different people, and different times, it starts to build a pattern that feels harder to dismiss as coincidence. Now, this strange video was posted on December 27th, 2025, by a veterinary hospital in Madison, Alabama. But what makes it even more unsettling is that the footage itself had reportedly been kept private for nearly 4 years. According to the clinic's owner, Renee, something happened that night that caused all employees on shift to stop what they were doing. Have a look.
That's weird. Where is that coming from? It don't sound like it's coming from there. Okay, so you still want to do banana bag, 15 mils an hour, head of starch, 4 mils an hour. It's coming from over this way. Alright. Medication, veterinary, 15 mils BID, IV. Wait, is it Scarlet? Wait. No, I cleansed it off before getting meds. Is somebody dropping it off up there? What's coming from up there? They may have done that when they switched the bag. Is it the new bag for you? No. Alright, who's making that noise? What's in the lobby? It's coming from the lobby. No, it's not. Where is that? It's not in here. What is that? What, phantom dolls? That's fucking weird. Is it Charles? You heard that, right? We all heard that. I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear anything. What did you hear? A dog keeps yapping. Is it in there? No. Look at coming from over here. Look at the front porch and make sure they didn't dump one or throw one in the pen outside or something. I didn't hear anything. You're not hearing that. 3 of us heard it. I didn't hear it, no. You heard it, right? I heard it. I didn't hear it. You can't hear it coming from this side. You can't hear it at ISO though, right? No. Look at that fence out there. Make sure somebody throw one in the fence. I heard nothing. I was like, what are y'all talking about? Yeah, that's a brand new bag. That's fucking bizarre. It is? Yeah. That's I haven't heard it. I still haven't heard it. All 3 of us heard it. And it was coming from that. It sounded like it was in that room or something. Like it sounded like it was like right from your board. We're going to play that back. I didn't even hear anything. Can you play it like specifically in those rooms or anything?
After reviewing the footage, Renee says there was no logical explanation for what they witnessed, and this wasn't an isolated event. Over time, strange activity became almost routine inside the clinic. Dog kennels, securely latched, would open on their own in the middle of the night. Office supplies and lightweight equipment were found scattered across rooms that had been locked. Staff members reported hearing scratching sounds coming from empty runs long after the last patient had gone home. Sometimes, motion sensors would trigger in rooms where no animal was being treated. For a veterinary hospital, that detail hits differently, because this isn't just any building, it's a place filled with heightened emotion, fear, grief, relief, heartbreak. It's where some families say goodbye to beloved pets, and many pet owners will tell you that after their animal passes, they still hear the faint scratch at the door, still feel the weight at the foot of the bed, still think they see a quick shadow dart past in the hallway. Some believe animals, especially loyal ones, linger, and that's the theory whispered among staff. that perhaps some of the dogs who passed away in that clinic never fully left, that the scratching isn't imagination, and that the kennel's opening isn't mechanical failure. So what do you think? Is it residual energy, emotional imprints replaying themselves, or something else using the setting to its advantage? Renee says she doesn't know what's in her clinic, but she's no longer convinced it's empty after closing time. The following video was captured by a security camera inside a house where the owner has already had his fairer share of terrifying experiences. The kind that don't just happen once and stop, but repeat in different forms over time, slowly turning his home into a place he no longer feels completely safe in. He's reported hearing footsteps moving through empty rooms, objects shifting when no one is around, and moments where it feels like someone is watching him from just out of sight. At a point, the activity became intense enough that he decided to take action, bringing in crosses and placing them around the house, along with performing a few protection rituals in hopes of restoring some sense of peace. For a while, it seemed like it might have worked, but then this happened. One night, he hears what sounds like someone moving inside his house. Not subtle noises, but clear movement, enough to make him get up, check every room, and do a full sweep of the place. But he found nothing, so he went back to bed. But the camera captured something else entirely. Watch. If you focus on the table area, something suddenly appears, a white figure moving fast. After seeing the footage, he shared it with several of his friends, and most of them came to the same conclusion, that considering everything he had already experienced, this could be the clearest indication yet that whatever is in his house hasn't left and may not have been affected by the measures he took at all. And that raises an even more unsettling thought. Because if protective steps like that didn't stop it, then whatever he's dealing with might not be something that's easily removed, or something that intends to leave. No further updates have been shared since then, leaving this incident without closure, and whatever was captured on that camera still without a clear explanation. But what do you think the camera captured that night? Chris had brought out a Ouija board the night before with his friend, hoping to finally get some kind of response after everything that had been happening around his house. But the plan fell flat, and the board stayed silent the entire time. Now he was home alone, trying to convince himself that the quiet meant things were settling down. But the house had that strange stillness that always made him feel like something was listening. He was sitting in the living room when a sudden knock echoed through the house, even though no one was at the door, followed by a soft tapping that seemed to come from the room he was in. Take a look.
A lot of you guys are gonna be mad at me, but me and my cousin broke this out. Messed with it last night.
Dad had sex on a Ouija board. Oh boy.
We did it the proper way, though. I know this is a kid's toy, but y'all don't understand the kind of shit y'all's getting into when y'all fuck with this. At least some people don't. I heard it, but I didn't see it. I still hear it. You can hear that, can't you? I can. It sound like tapping. Everybody's like, oh, it's the hutch. It's the hutch. Can you do it again? This is a selfie stick I taped to a tripod.
He stood up and looked around, expecting to find something obvious, but the room was empty and nothing moved except for the faint shift of shadows from the lamp. A whisper slipped through the air behind him, a quiet hello, that he didn't even register at first because it sounded too close and too low to make sense. Before he could process the stillness, the camera stand beside him toppled over on its own, hitting the floor with a sudden clatter that made him jump. He picked it up and propped it back into place, trying to laugh it off, but the uneasy feeling lingered like whatever whispered at him was still standing right behind his shoulder. Chris was sitting in his living room later that night, with the TV playing softly beside him and his dog curled up at his feet, trying to enjoy the quiet, even though the house kept giving him that uneasy feeling again. The tapping started up just like before, faint and scattered, and then the door started to vibrate.
Not chewing on it. I'm sorry, y'all. He's just playing. It may be loud on my phone. I don't know yet. But yeah, we're just chilling. And I swear, up and down, I could have swore the door was vibrating. It's a sliding door. Slides into the wall. There it goes. It's making me shake a little bit. I'm sorry. Devil scared the shit out of me. How do I turn this to the light?
While he stroked the dog, the door across the room began to vibrate like something on the other side was pushing against it. And this is the moment that he pulled out the camera and kept it aimed straight at the door. The door slid open just a little on its own, then slowly crept even farther, revealing a deeper patch of darkness behind it that made the room feel colder. After a few seconds, it opened all the way, swinging wide until the entire doorway was visible and completely empty. Not a single movement inside. Chris stood up with his dog watching closely, walked toward the room, and flipped the light on. The space was perfectly still, every corner untouched, literally not a soul in sight. The silence felt even heavier than before, like whatever opened the door had stepped back just out of reach the moment he crossed the threshold. We might see more of Chris in future videos. The hospital room looked totally ordinary on camera, just a standard space with a bed in the center, a chair pushed against the wall, a small table with folded blankets, and the usual equipment sitting quietly in standby. Nothing looked out of place, and the frame stayed steady for a while, showing a perfectly normal scene with no movement at all. Out of nowhere, a strange, uneven sound slipped into the audio, almost like a motor trying to start even though nothing in the room was supposed to be running, and the backrest of the bed began lifting on its own in small, awkward jumps. It kept rising higher, little by little, climbing at a slow, steady angle until it was nearly upright at 90 degrees, with no one near the controls and nothing touching it. The rest of the room stayed exactly the same, the chair still, the other equipment untouched, every corner frozen except for that single, impossible movement. When the noise finally stopped, the bed stayed locked in that upright position, leaving the room looking perfectly normal again, except for the one thing that clearly hadn't moved by itself. Sabia had a security camera set up in her kitchen in the Netherlands, just a regular feed showing the table and a few candles sitting untouched near the back wall. Everything looked calm for a while, nothing unusual happening at all except for a few soft orbs drifting across the screen, like dust catching the light. Then, without any movement around it, the candle suddenly sparked to life, a quick flash that turned into a steady flame, as if someone had just struck a match right beside it. Nothing else shifted in the room, no breeze touched the wick, and there was no one standing anywhere near it. The flame held perfectly still after forming, burning like it had been lit on purpose, even though Sabia knew the candle had been cold for hours. The rest of the kitchen stayed completely normal on camera, but the sudden light from the wick made the whole space feel different, like something unseen had stepped in just long enough to leave a mark, before disappearing again. A few nights later, Sabia checked another piece of security footage, this time from the sitting room, and the scene looked completely still at first, with the furniture exactly where it always stayed, and the time on the right showing it was practically midnight. The camera picked up a few drifting orbs crossing the frame like pale specks floating through the air, the same kind she had seen in the kitchen earlier, but nothing else seemed off until the corner of the room shifted. A chair that had been pushed neatly into the corner slid forward on its own, moving in one smooth line across the floor, even though no one was near it. More orbs drifted by in clusters right after, almost like the movement stirred something up, and then the painting on the wall began tilting slowly side to side as if an invisible hand was nudging it. The rest of the room stayed perfectly quiet. No shadows moving, no lights flickering, just the chair out of place and the painting swaying gently before settling back into place. Watching it all unfold at midnight made the sitting room feel less like a normal part of the house and more like another spot where something unseen was making itself known piece by piece. Who knows if it continued, because this is the last we heard from Sabia. In the following video, Stephen was washing dishes with the usual evening noises in the background, the sink running, the faint hum of the fridge, and nothing out of the ordinary until something suddenly tapped hard against the middle of his back and bounced onto the floor behind him. The sound made him jerk around with that instant confusion where your brain tries to catch up to what your body already felt, and he had no idea what could have hit him because he knew no one else was supposed to be that close.
Dude, I'm a little wigged out right now. So I was washing dishes and just putting things away, and all of a sudden I feel something hit me in the back and I heard it bounce. Look at this shit. And this ball hits me in the back right shoulder out of nowhere. And what's even crazier is look where Avery's at. Now mind you, I just got done washing the air fryer and was drying it off. Whatever it was had a little bit of force. And I'm gonna tell you right now, Lauren's been in bed for almost 2 days. Like, she gets up for a little bit, but she has not felt good at all. And Avery, let's just face it, if he's not watching his tablet, he's on the Oculus or he's outside. And I knew with it being like 12 o'clock, he's inside. So I have no idea. Now I have a lot of activity. It's not like malicious or anything, but that right there was the first time that's happened. So I don't know, what do y'all think about it?
When he cut to the CCTV footage, the camera clearly showed a small ball shooting across the room and hitting him square in the back before dropping to the floor, and the look on his face as he turned around said everything about how unexpected it was. He switched the feed over to another part of the house where his son Avery was sitting in plain view, completely occupied and nowhere near the kitchen, just to make it absolutely clear it couldn't have been him messing around. The replay showed no one behind Stephen, no shadows moving, no sign of any trick, just the ball launching on its own and hitting him like it had been tossed by someone he couldn't see. Elysia was alone at her storage unit in the middle of the day, filming down the long, narrow corridor that always felt eerie, but she never really questioned it. The overhead lights buzzed softly, reflecting off the rows of identical metal doors, while her voice echoed down as she told us about what was happening. She wasn't expecting anything at all until she started filming, just checking on a few things she had stored away, when something at the very end of the hallway caught her attention.
I'm over here at the storage, and I don't know if it's me, but y'all tell me I don't see that. Oh no. I don't know if it's just a fan like going in and out, but the is that? Duh. I don't. Maybe I'm bugging. No, I know y'all just see that, right? Oh!
A dark shape peeked out from the corner, a black blob leaning just far enough around the wall for its outline to show before sliding back out of sight again. She kept filming, trying to convince herself it was a trick of the light, but the shape returned a second later, then slipped away, then peeked again like it was deliberately watching her from the far end of the corridor. Nothing else in the hallway moved, no doors rattled, no shadows shifted, except for that one shape darting back and forth behind the last wall. The emptiness made the whole place feel colder, and the repeated movements left her with the awful sense that whatever was hiding around that corner wasn't trying to avoid her at all, but was studying her from a distance she couldn't close. In the follow-up clip, Elysia returned to the storage facility in the daytime, hoping the daylight would make the place feel less threatening. But the moment she stepped inside, she realized it didn't help at all. The entire corridor was pitch dark, even though the building should have been fully lit during business hours. She was the only customer there, with only a couple of staff somewhere in the front office, so she decided to walk in anyway.
Alright, y'all. I'm finally back at this place. And you know, I'm in the process of moving in and out right now, and nobody here. Like, listen, if I see something again, I'm definitely reporting to the manager to put up that video, because I'm not playing. There's one car over there, but I'm just gonna see, because right now everything's dark. Like, inside there, I don't know if you can see it, but it's dark. Like, look how scary that shit is, bro. This is why I hate doing this shit, but I got no choice. Just here. See, like, I know when you go in, it censors somebody that's here. Oh, so see, that's that shit that be scary. And like, I'm on the second floor. Okay. I know that this lady probably lives here or she does her business here, but she's here every single day, nonstop. If that chair's not there, she's not here. If the chair's there, she's there. Yeah, so I don't know if she lives there or does her little business there. What is that? Yeah, anyways, yeah, I don't know. Alright. Listen, see, this is my storage. And I'm honestly, I'm like acting like you guys are human, or bitch, I might be living here tonight. No. Oh my. I'm not doing this. And there's no way There's no way I'm in the fucking storage stuck in this shit. Hello! Oh my god.
As soon as she crossed the motion sensor, the overhead lights flickered on one by one, illuminating the long hallway in a way that instantly reminded her of the last video. She went upstairs to the second floor, unlocked her storage unit, and began recording inside while she rearranged a few items. Out of nowhere, the sound of something sliding echoed from directly outside the unit. A long, dragging noise like metal or plastic scraping across the floor. Elysia froze, staring toward the open doorway before rushing forward and pulling the metal shutter down as fast as she could, trapping herself safely inside so whatever had caused the noise couldn't get in. She waited quietly, breathing hard, but the sliding sound didn't repeat. Later that day, staff reviewed the CCTV for her, and the cameras confirmed it. Nobody else had entered that floor at all during the time she was there, making the situation far more unnerving than she wanted to believe. The following video was recorded by a man in Virginia who'd been noticing strange things happening inside his shed. Strange enough that he set up a Ring security camera in there to try to catch something on film. The shed itself is cluttered with tools, old boxes, and years of accumulated junk. The kind of space that's easy to ignore until it starts ignoring you back. The camera is mounted high in a corner, looking down over the whole room, and on the afternoon of April 19th of 2026, at around 4:26 p.m., nobody is inside. Nobody visible, anyway. A door at the back of the room is closed, the floor is still, and then it isn't. Watch.
Man, look at this.
What unfolds over the next few minutes is one of the densest collections of unexplained activity caught on a single static camera in recent memory. A door swinging open on its own, loud thuds and heavy dragging sounds filling the room with no visible source. A ball rolling out of the open doorway and stopping dead. A wooden shelf crashing to the floor, and then, most disturbingly, being lifted back up and out of frame against gravity. And then there's the music. Old-fashioned, tinny, with a female vocalist. Faint at first, then growing steadily louder, as though something is physically walking it closer to the camera's microphone. Right up until a sharp pop is heard, and something lets out a high-pitched cry of pain. When the man Yeed enters the shed to investigate, you can hear how shaken he is, breathing heavy, voice cracking, yelling into the dark attic above him, and getting nothing back. What he finds up there doesn't answer anything. Broken nameplates reading Mr. and Mrs. Ronald J. with the surname snapped clean off, a shattered Rolex-style watch, shot glasses etched with the logo of Sweetbriar College, a women's-only institution here in Virginia, all of it belonging to someone else, someone whose connection to this shed he can't explain. Many viewers think what's captured here is classic poltergeist behavior, not a haunting tied to a location so much as an intelligence that interacts with physical objects, creates sound, and seems capable of responding to the presence of a camera. Poltergeist activity in paranormal research is often described as kinetic, loud, and escalating, the kind of presence that doesn't hide but performs. Others think the objects found in the attic matter more than the activity itself, that whoever Ronald J. was, something tied to him, or to whoever he shared that nameplate with, hasn't fully left the space. The shelf being lifted back up is the detail that's hardest to walk away from. Things fall, that's physics, but whatever pulled that shelf back up wasn't working with gravity, it was working against it. So what exactly is living in that shed with him, and does it know he's looking? Now, in this next clip, a group of friends decide to explore the darker parts of the building they're staying in at 4:15 in the morning. What starts as a casual, laughing walkthrough of a dark office space slowly shifts into something far more unsettling. The man filming leads his two friends through room after room, trying locked doors, peering into a cluttered storage area, and eventually unlatching a back door that opens into complete darkness outside. The mood is still light. They're joking, whispering, shining a phone flashlight into corners until they saw something terrifying. Watch.
Mai pitu, mai pagi. Mai pagi, mai pitu, mai kita tengok, mai kita tengok. Buka lampu, Pi. Nak guguk babi. Buka lampu. Macam ni, Pi. Macam ada orang tu. Allah, lampu pula tutup. Ya babi tu. Bodoh. Dia tinggal aku ke bodoh? Macam babi tinggal aku. Lampu tutup pula. Ruang ketang, ruang jiluan, ruang ketang. Bodoh. Bimbang. Biar. Tak pasal pipi. Biar. Ya. Tak orang tu. Tak sini gelap dia. Allah Akbar. Bodoh. Ya Allah. Bodoh. Babi gugah ya Allah. Allahu Akbar.
If you look closely, there's a figure, and according to the guys, it's a Pocong. Near the edge of the darkness, a pale figure can briefly be seen motionless in the background. The group immediately reacts, and according to the men filming, what they saw was a Pocong, a ghost from Indonesian and Malay folklore, believed to be the spirit of a dead person trapped inside their burial shroud. In traditional beliefs, the body of the deceased is wrapped tightly in white cloth before burial, with bindings around the head, neck, and feet. Legends claim that if the soul is unable to move on, the spirit may return in the same wrapped form. unable to walk normally, and often described as hopping or appearing stiff and motionless in dark places. Reports of Pocong sightings are especially common near abandoned buildings, graveyards, and isolated roads late at night. Some viewers believe the figure was simply a person standing outside in the darkness. Others are convinced the reaction from the group was too immediate and genuine to be staged. But for those familiar with the legend of the Pocong, the clip taps into a fear that has existed for generations. The following clip was recorded inside what appears to be a private collection room, floor-to-ceiling wooden shelves packed with hundreds of clown dolls, figurines, and ceramic pieces. A human-sized clown seated in a chair in the background, holding two smaller ones on its lap. The woman filming walks through the space calmly at first, taking it all in, until something just off-camera stops her cold. Watch.
Might do that. Are you a textual? Well, thank you. You see that?
She freezes mid-step, her expression shifting from neutral to wide-eyed shock, and she raises her palm outward like she's bracing against something invisible. Collections like this, especially ones centered around objects with human-like features, such as dolls or figurines, have long been tied to unsettling theories in paranormal folklore. Across multiple cultures, objects that resemble the human form are believed to act as vessels, not necessarily because something is placed into them intentionally, but because their likeness creates what some traditions describe as a spiritual anchor, something that makes it easier for unseen entities to attach themselves or manifest through them. Clown figures in particular tend to amplify that discomfort, not because of anything inherently supernatural about clowns themselves, but because their exaggerated expressions create a disconnect between emotion and appearance. Smiles that don't feel natural, eyes that seem fixed yet aware, making it easier for the human mind to interpret subtle changes as something more. The following video was recorded during a live stream session out of Columbiana, Alabama, in September of 2019, when three men were in the middle of a casual conversation about haunted artifacts, specifically about a trip one of them had taken to the Afterlife Museum in West Virginia, a place known for housing objects with dark histories. On the table in front of them sat two vintage baby dolls, brought out as part of the discussion. Nothing about the setup seemed alarming. The man on the right, joining remotely via video call, was mid-sentence describing what he'd seen at the museum. Death masks, haunted dolls, the kind of objects people warn you not to bring home. Watch.
Death mask. They actually had the cap they would put on death row inmate when they kept the chair. I mean, it was bizarre. And I thought, yeah.
What happened?
Like 20 seconds ago, I thought, yeah. I ignored it. Because I thought it was my eyes.
I didn't really. It was this one right here, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Screen. I didn't see. I missed it. Hey, I was just trying to see the head kind of wobble like it was trying to turn.
Yeah,
okay.
I thought brothers were playing with me.
Joe, you want to take that one home with you?
As long as it's temporary. They had death mask. They actually had the cap they would put on death row inmate when they kept the chair. I mean, it was bizarre. And I thought, yeah.
What happened?
Like 20 seconds ago, I thought, yeah. I ignored it because I thought it was my eyes.
And we're going to build a museum on it.
That'll be cool.
It's going to be a haunted museum and a Bigfoot museum, artifacts, and, you know, for storytelling and that kind of stuff.
Right. I had recently went up to West Virginia to the, what was it called? The Afterlife Museum. The Archive of the Afterlife Museum. That place was really interesting. They had all kinds of dolls that were haunted, were supposedly haunted. They had death masks. They actually had a the cap they would put on death row inmate when they got the chair. I mean, it was bizarre, and I thought, yeah.
What happened?
Like 20 seconds ago, I thought, yeah. I ignored it. I ignored it because I thought it was my eyes.
I did really. It was this one right here, wasn't it?
The head of the dolls were slowly moving. What makes this harder to dismiss is that the man on the call admits he noticed the movement 20 seconds earlier and chose to ignore it, telling himself it was his eyes playing tricks. Both men react simultaneously and independently, which is exactly the kind of detail skeptics struggle to explain away. Some believe objects that have passed through environments like the Afterlife Museum can carry residual energy, absorbing something from the people and places they've been around. Others think the doll may have been responding to the conversation itself. If you watch the replay closely, you'll notice the right doll also shifts slightly at the same moment. So what exactly set it off? The following video was recorded on a home security camera set up in a living area, looking down a dark hallway toward a closed white door. The house appears quiet, no one moving, no lights on, nothing out of the ordinary by any visible measure. And then, fairly early in the footage, something changes. Watch. Some viewers think the figure is a camera artifact, a long exposure glitch layered over the original feed. Others aren't so sure, pointing out that the object moving independently happens in the same footage, and that kind of pairing, a visual apparition followed by physical movement, is something that keeps showing up in home security cases like this one. Whether the movements in this clip were caused by vibration, an unseen draft, a camera illusion, or something else entirely remains unclear. But moments like this are exactly why ordinary security footage so often ends up at the center of paranormal debates online. Now, in this next clip, a man wakes up in the middle of the night to the sound of footsteps on his basement stairs. Not once, not twice, but over and over for nearly 10 minutes straight. What makes this especially unsettling is that he thought it was over. Earlier that week, he'd visited a cemetery, and after that, every bit of activity in his home had gone completely quiet. He believed whatever had been following him had returned to where it came from. He was wrong. So he grabs his flashlight and starts moving through the dark house, narrating as he goes, clearly shaken. Watch.
Alright, so I was woken up this morning to the sound of walking up and down my basement stairs again. It was over and over and over for probably 10 minutes straight. It was just walking up and down the basement stairs. Now, this is the first any type of activity I've had in the last week. Now, I opened the cemetery up on Monday, and since then I've had absolutely no activity here at home. So I thought that whatever followed me, or whatever it was, returned to the cemetery, and that was it. But like I said, I woke up to, the back door's locked, all the windows are locked.
While he's mid-sentence, a loud crash cuts him off. A green shaker bottle now on the kitchen floor, with no one near it. He picks it up, hands unsteady, breathing heavy, and just says, "I don't know," over and over. You can hear the defeat in his voice. Some believe this is classic poltergeist behavior, objects displaced by an unseen force as a direct response to the witness's presence. Others think whatever came back from that cemetery didn't come alone, but what do you think? The following clip was recorded by a man somewhere in Carrollsville, late at night and in the middle of a heavy rainstorm. He's parked in his Jeep outside a building near a gas station when something across the street stops him cold. According to him, whatever it was had already been there when he first noticed it. Pale and vaguely humanoid, standing in the rain near the pumps. He gets out of the car, which, honestly, most people would never do. And the moment he does, something shifts. The temperature of the whole situation changes. Watch.
Oh my God.
What the f do you want? Just leave me alone. Just leave me alone, please.
That figure in white, standing across the road in the dark and the rain, doesn't move the way anything should. And then the sound starts. A high-pitched, wavering wail that doesn't match any emergency siren, any car alarm, anything you'd expect to hear outside a gas station at night. He screams at it, pleads with it, and eventually scrambles back into the Jeep just to get away. What makes this harder to dismiss is the final glance in his side mirror before he speeds off. The figure is now under the carport he just left, and it appears to be contorting. Some viewers familiar with Carroll County's long history of documented hauntings have pointed out that the region around Carrollsville has carried paranormal folklore for generations. Others focused on those sounds, that unnatural, layered wail, and suggested it's consistent with what some researchers call an intelligent haunting, where a presence doesn't just appear, but actively communicates through sound and proximity. Skeptics think the figure is a person in a raincoat, and the sounds are distorted road noise bleeding through the recording. But that doesn't explain why it followed him. Where exactly did it go? The following video was captured by a man's camcorder about 12 years ago, and according to him, that moment completely changed how he viewed reality, opening him up to the unsettling possibility that the line between the living and whatever exists beyond it may not be as clear as we assume. At the time, he lived along Tetagouche River Road, a place that, while quiet on the surface, had long been surrounded by uneasy local stories, including reports of shadowy figures appearing near the tree line at dusk, unexplained sounds echoing through the woods late at night, and the persistent feeling among residents that certain parts of the area were being watched even when no one was there. While these accounts were often brushed off as exaggerations or imagination, they were consistent enough to make people cautious, especially after dark. On a Tuesday afternoon, however, he experienced something that didn't feel like a story anymore, because with his camcorder running, he unintentionally recorded something that would later leave him with more questions than answers. Watch. At first, the footage appears completely normal, showing a quiet outdoor setting with nothing immediately drawing attention. But as you continue watching closely, a figure can be seen standing in the distance, positioned in a way that suggests it had been there the entire time without being noticed. What makes this moment unsettling is not just the presence of the figure, but the way it remains completely still before suddenly disappearing within seconds, without any visible movement, transition, or attempt to leave the frame in a natural way. Moments like this are difficult to explain because there is no clear indication of someone walking away, hiding, or blending into the surroundings, which raises questions about whether what was captured was even a person to begin with. Some believe this could be connected to the history of the area, possibly a residual presence tied to past events, appearing briefly as part of an imprint left behind in the environment. Even now, years later, what he captured that afternoon continues to stand as one of those moments that feels too clear to dismiss, and like many cases tied to places with lingering stories, it remains unresolved. This next video captures a terrifying late-night experience inside a man's home, around 2 a.m., a time when everything is supposed to be quiet, predictable, and still. On this particular night, however, a loud, sudden bang echoes through the house, startling his dog, Frechol, and immediately pulling him out of whatever sense of normalcy he had left. For the past month, he has been dealing with a series of strange and increasingly difficult to ignore occurrences, including disembodied voices that seem to come from no clear direction, and moments where he feels something disturbingly close to him, as though someone or something is breathing right near his neck. While he had tried to rationalize these experiences at first, questioning his own perception and wondering if stress or imagination could be playing a role, the consistency of these moments had already begun to wear down that explanation. So when he hears the bang that night, he grabs his phone, determined to finally capture proof that what he has been experiencing is real. Watch.
Hola. Ay, chinga tu madre. No mames.
As he moves toward the source of the noise, the camera begins to pick up something that immediately stands out, a pair of small hands appearing from a position where no one should be, their size and shape resembling that of a child. However, as he gets closer, the face that comes into view does not match the innocence suggested by those hands. That moment was enough for him to stop questioning everything he had experienced before. For now, he has chosen to leave the house temporarily, putting some distance between himself and whatever might still be inside, while sharing his experience in the hope that someone, somewhere, might be able to offer an explanation or even help him understand what he's dealing with. The following clip is about a man named Daniel Thompson, who occasionally returns to spend a few days at the family home where he and his sister grew up, a place that, despite the familiarity it should bring, has always left him with an uneasy feeling. One of the reasons he points to is his mother's unusual hobby, because over time she filled the house with a wide range of antiques, dolls, puppets, and other strange items collected from flea markets, thrift stores, and estate sales, many of which came with unknown histories. While most of these objects blended into the background, one in particular always stood out to him, a dollhouse that sat in his sister's room and consistently gave him a feeling he couldn't shake. Eventually, the discomfort became strong enough that they decided to move the dollhouse out of the room entirely, hoping that changing its location would ease whatever tension they felt around it. Watch what happened next.
Okay, it's official. I'm getting rid of this. The many figurines are moving. Like what?
After Daniel shared this footage, many people began to suggest that the issue might not have been the dollhouse itself, but rather the space it was moved into, because it had been placed in a storage room, an area that was already enclosed, quiet, and rarely used, which some believe could amplify or even trigger certain kinds of activity. Taking that into account, they decided to move the dollhouse back into his sister's room, expecting that returning it to its original place might settle whatever was happening. But instead, something else began. Watch.
Guys. Do you hear that? 'Cause 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 'cause
Daniel explains that almost every time he walks past that room now, he hears a faint knocking sound coming from inside, subtle but consistent enough to stand out, and for reasons he can't fully explain, he is convinced that the sound is coming directly from the dollhouse itself, rather than anywhere else in the room. At that point, the situation becomes harder to pin down, because if the activity followed the object, then it suggests the dollhouse may be the source, but if moving it into the storage room intensified things, then the environment may have played a role as well, leaving open the possibility that both the object and the space are somehow connected. So what exactly is going on here? You be the judge. Now this next clip was recorded at Pidhurtsky Castle, a historic site that has gained a reputation not only for its architecture, but also for the unsettling stories that have surrounded it for decades. Built in the 17th century, the castle has long been associated with reports of paranormal activity, with visitors and locals alike claiming to have experienced unexplained footsteps, sudden drops in temperature, and sightings of a mysterious figure often described as a woman dressed entirely in white. Some legends trace this presence back to tragic events tied to the castle's past, suggesting that whatever is being seen may be connected to unresolved history lingering within its walls. In this video, a man and his friends decide to explore the castle for themselves, but throughout their time inside, they begin to notice something that immediately puts them on edge, a repeated feeling that someone is moving through the rooms. Instead of dismissing it, they decide to try something more deliberate. When they got outside, they positioned their camera to capture a full view of the castle's windows, and caught this on camera.
Турецкий замок. Видите, какая краса. Супер. Такое с архитектурой. Ух, нифига себе. Андриана! Андриана!
In the footage, a figure in white can be seen moving across one of the windows. After this video was posted, it didn't take long for others who had visited the castle to come forward with their own experiences, sharing stories of seeing similar figures, hearing unexplained sounds, or feeling an overwhelming sense that they were not alone while inside. So if you've ever been to this place, drop a comment. The following video shows what one family has been dealing with ever since they casually decided to play with a Ouija board, an experience that, at the time, felt harmless and almost entertaining, but quickly became something they now associate with the beginning of a series of disturbing events inside their home. Now, if you were to ask the wife why she is constantly cleaning, rearranging, and trying to keep everything in order, it is not simply out of habit, but because of this.
Hell no. Stop with me. Stop with me right now. What the? Baby! Leave us alone!
In the footage, a bottle that had been on the table suddenly falls to the floor in a way that doesn't resemble an accidental slip, but instead looks as though it was lifted and dropped. Almost immediately after, a loud banging sound echoes from the direction of the door. Then the door closes on its own, followed by a bowl that had been sitting on the table beginning to slide before eventually falling. Situations like this often lead to speculation about whether the Ouija board may have played a role in triggering or inviting whatever is now present, especially since many believe that such tools are not just games, but methods of communication that, if not handled carefully, can open the door to something unknown. For now, the family is left trying to live around something they don't understand, holding on to routines and small comforts while sharing their experience in the hope that someone might recognize what they're dealing with. But for now, this remains unsolved. This next video was recorded inside the historic Snyder House, a location that has quietly built a reputation among urban explorers and paranormal enthusiasts for the kind of activity that doesn't always make itself obvious at first, but tends to linger in ways that are difficult to ignore. The house is often described as abandoned yet strangely preserved, with certain rooms still containing old furniture, mirrors, and personal items that give the unsettling impression that life there may have stopped suddenly rather than naturally fading over time. In this video, a group of explorers enters the Snyder House, hoping to document its condition and possibly capture something unusual, but what they record ends up raising more questions than they expected. Watch. If you look closely, you'll see a figure, but what makes the moment particularly unsettling is how quickly that figure disappears. Moments like this tend to stand out in places like the Snyder House, because they align with the kinds of reports that have been shared over time. Now in this next clip, popular Midwest ghost hunter Ian continues his one in one of the most feared and talked about locations in Indiana, the Blackford County Jail, hoping to finally understand why so many unexplained incidents are still being reported there. For years, people have reported sightings of what they describe as a little person moving in the basement. Some believe it's the spirit of a former inmate, trapped and unable to leave, but others strongly disagree. They claim what's down there isn't paranormal at all. They believe it's something alive that hides and watches. Watch.
I kind of don't like having my back turned to those. Hello? Is there anybody down here? Well, they say that this hole is a portal that spirits can enter. If this is indeed a portal to the spirit world, could you come up out of that hole? Float upward towards me. Little person? Are you down here? Are there any prisoners down here? This is where they kept the worst of the worst. Oh.
After hearing that sound, Ian immediately freezes, listening carefully, trying to determine where it came from. Going down there alone didn't sound like a good idea, especially knowing the stories. So instead, Ian decided to wait, hoping to catch even the slightest movement that could explain what he just heard. And then, after a while, he sees this.
Whoa, 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 what did I just see? What did I just see? I just seen something on the ground. Holy crap! It didn't look like a person though.
For a brief moment, something appears small and low to the ground. Determined to finally uncover the truth, he slowly makes his way deeper into the basement, stepping toward the exact area where the figure had appeared. Watch.
Another corner. Oh God. Oh my God. It is so scary down here. Oh. I don't see anything over here. Creepy crawl space. Oh. I am not going in there. No. Little person? Are you in there? What if it snatches my arm? I hear you. He's gotta be down here. Oh. Just got thrown at me.
Suddenly, rocks are thrown in his direction, almost like a warning meant to stop him from going any further. And that realization alone is enough to make him think that he may not be alone in that basement after all. The following video was captured by a man who had already grown used to being woken up in the middle of the night by things he couldn't explain, to the point where it had become a routine, something he no longer questioned immediately, but instead documented, almost as if he knew that whatever was happening would eventually show itself on camera. Before this night, he had been dealing with faint knocks at odd hours, objects shifting slightly out of place, and moments where he would wake up feeling like someone had just been standing over him, watching, only for the room to be completely empty when he fully opened his eyes. Over time, it became harder to ignore, especially when he started hearing low sounds at night, scratching, dragging, and at times something that almost resembled breathing, close enough to feel real, but never visible long enough to confirm. So when it happened again that night, when a loud sound suddenly pulled him out of sleep, he reached for his phone, hoping to finally catch something clear enough to explain it all. What he captured instead only made things worse. Watch. The door creaks open first, slow and deliberate, with no one near it. Then a small black creature lunges onto the bed directly at him, letting out a shriek that doesn't sound like anything domestic, followed by a deep growl. Many would immediately label something like this as a demonic presence, and in many reported cases, it's said that when something like this begins to feel comfortable within a space, when it's no longer hiding or limiting itself to small signs, it can escalate even further, sometimes attempting to influence or even possess the person living there. In this next clip, a man in Chihuahua, Mexico, had been running a studio space he'd been using for work. A cluttered, horror-decorated room filled with vintage masks, a porcelain doll, and a large, ornate mirror. He'd already lost a week's worth of security footage because the cloud trial on his camera system expired before he could save anything locally. Then, on a Tuesday night, while he was away recovering from an eye injury, his security camera triggered a movement alert at 9:10 p.m. He ignored it at first. It wasn't until Thursday that he finally came back to check, and that's when things got harder to dismiss. Watch. The security camera, the kind set to tracking mode, begins panning slowly across the empty room on its own, as if following something invisible. Then, a door that was slightly ajar in the background swings fully shut with deliberate, unhurried force. The doll by your right also moved without anyone in sight touching it. When the man arrives with his handheld camera that same night, he walks to a corner of the floor near the desk, a floor he says he'd left spotless, and points the light downward. Have a look.
Fijé un poco. Yo había dejado limpio. Y hay unas huellas ahí. Esos días hizo bastante frío, hizo mucho frío. Bueno, para que alguien anduviera descalzo, lo dudo mucho. Para la gente de aquí de Chihuahua sabe que no se puede andar uno descalzo en la calle. Y luego miren, yo calzo del 9. Ese pie es enorme, está muy grande. No es mi pie. O sea, la verdad sí está muy grande el pie. Y le digo, oí pasos.
A large, dirty, barefoot print on the floor. He holds his own shoe next to it for comparison. He wears a size 9, and the print is noticeably bigger, both in length and width. There was no sign of forced entry, so from that point on, the debate around what's causing all of this only intensified. Some people are convinced the activity is tied to a large mirror he brought into the studio. According to him, the strange occurrences began almost immediately after the mirror arrived. In paranormal belief, mirrors are often considered portals, reflective surfaces believed to thin the boundary between spaces. Many cultures warn that mirrors can act as gateways, allowing entities to observe, attach, or even pass through. If that's the case here, it could explain the sense of being watched, the movement being tracked, and the idea that something is present without fully manifesting. But others believe the mirror isn't the source, it's the doll. Dolls act as vessels, not necessarily haunted at first, but capable of housing or attracting a presence over time. The fact that the doll moves during the footage and that disturbances seem more physical, doors slamming, objects shifting, leads many to think the doll is what's anchoring whatever is inside that studio. And then there are those who think it isn't one or the other, but both. Some believe the mirror may have opened the door, and the doll became the place where whatever came through decided to stay. Until more updates are shared, this remains unsolved. Now in this next clip, a couple decides to do something many people would strongly advise against. Sitting together in a darkened room, candles flickering around them as they place their hands on a Ouija board and ask whatever might be listening to make itself known. Watch. Before this moment, they had already experienced strange activity in their old apartment, which was located right next to a hospital, a detail that, for many people, immediately raises questions, because places like that are often associated with intense emotional energy, loss, and unresolved moments that some believe can linger. They reported hearing unexplained sounds, feeling watched, and noticing subtle disturbances they couldn't explain, which led them to wonder if something might have attached itself to them. So when they moved into their new place, instead of leaving it behind, they made a decision that would change everything, using the Ouija board to find out if whatever they had experienced before had followed them into this new home. Watch.
Anybody there? Is anybody there? Can you give us a sign? Can you give us a sign? God. Oh my God. There's no way. There's no way. Dude, there's nobody in here. There's nobody in here. What is going on? Oh.
Some viewers believe this confirms their fear, that something from their old apartment may have stayed with them, something that didn't leave when they moved. But others argue something far more unsettling, that it wasn't about something following them at all, but about what they may have invited in at that exact moment by choosing to use the board. And that's where the situation takes a more serious turn. Because people familiar with how these sessions are traditionally handled were quick to point out a critical mistake, something that might seem small but carries heavy implications in paranormal belief. The fact that they removed their hands from the planchette without properly closing the session or saying goodbye. According to those beliefs, that final step isn't optional. It's meant to close whatever line of communication has been opened by skipping it. Many believe they didn't just stop the session, they left it unfinished, leaving what some describe as an open doorway, something that doesn't simply close on its own. On another day, they decided to do it again.
Is anybody there? Is anybody there? No.
Jacob, we have to get out. We have to get out.
Moments like this are often used as examples when people talk about the risks tied to using a Ouija board, not because of what is guaranteed to happen, but because of what can happen when boundaries aren't understood or respected. The idea isn't just that something might respond, but that once that line is opened, it may not always be clear what exactly is responding, or whether it intends to leave when you're done, and that's the part many people overlook. Because it's not always about whether something followed them from before. Sometimes it's about what they may have invited in, without fully understanding how to send it back. This next video was recorded by a man who has been documenting what he describes as an increasingly aggressive haunting inside his home, and by the time this footage begins, he's already terrified before he even reaches the bottom of the stairs. It started with smaller disturbances, noises in the night, his dog refusing to behave normally downstairs, a growing sense that whatever was in the house was no longer passive. He blames the spirits for recent bad luck in his life, including a car accident, and on this particular night, he grabs his phone and heads downstairs because something has set his dog off again. Watch.
Nouvelle vidéo, on entend du bruit, mon chien s'est énervé d'un coup. Devient catastrophique. Les esprits deviennent agressifs. Oui, j'arrive, ma fille. Et pire, c'est qu'il me porte la poisse. Là, il y a 2 jours, les gendarmes m'ont rentré dans la voiture. Elle était devant chez moi, mais la voiture est épave. Beaucoup de chance. Beaucoup de chance. Et l'excuse, c'est le keuf avait une poussière dans l'œil. Vous y croyez, vous? Ben, moi, malheureusement, Oh putain, c'est quoi ce bordel encore, putain. Ça fait que ça, c'est incroyable. On essaie de trouver des solutions, mais rien qui marche. Cherche, mon chien, cherche. Il y a quelque chose? Oh putain. Ça devient bizarre. What the... Ouais. Putain, ça m'a piqué. Ah. Putain, c'est quoi ça? Mais c'est quoi ce délire? C'est quoi ce délire, putain de merde? Oh là là. Putain, c'est quoi ce délire? Putain de merde. Ça devient n'importe quoi ce baraque. Si vous avez des idées, des conseils. Ah, des idées, des conseils, je suis preneur. Honnêtement, ça. Oh putain, c'était quoi ça? Oh fuck off. Oh sa mère. C'était quoi ça, putain? C'était quoi cette merde? Si. Ah, putain. Ah, si. Qu'est-ce qui t'arrive? Non. Non. Mais non. C'est quoi ce délire? Mais c'est quoi ce délire, putain de ça? C'est quoi ce voix de sa mère, putain? Sa mère.
He claims to feel fingers pressing along his spine, then shouts out in pain as the camera lurches violently, as if something struck him. Then it got worse. The television switches on by itself, blasting loud, dramatic music into the dark room, and his dog stands near the glass door, with her tail tucked, too frightened to move. He uses the remote to shut it off, but within minutes, it turns back on, this time changing channels and raising its own volume, while the remote sits on the floor in front of it. Some viewers immediately pointed to poltergeist activity, a term used to describe a type of disturbance associated with physical force and object manipulation rather than a simple haunting. But the man's response to all of this is what makes the second clip even more unsettling, because rather than leave, he keeps confronting it. Watch.
Prochaine vidéo, j'ai décidé de me battre contre cette chose malveillante.
Horrible. Ça fait un moment que j'ai pas fait de vidéo, mais là ça empire. De jour en jour. Des marques, des griffes. C'est insupportable. Putain. Ah, c'est toi qui me fais peur. Alors, il y a quelqu'un? Putain, c'est insupportable. Putain. Putain, c'est quoi cette merde encore? Non, mais c'est pas possible.
He descends the same staircase again, speaking in a tense, hushed voice, saying things are getting worse day by day. Marks, scratches, unbearable. His dog startles him in the dark. Then a loud bang erupts from somewhere off camera. The camera whips sideways, and from inside a closed toy chest, a child's musical melody begins playing on its own. He opens the lid. The music cuts off the moment he slams it shut. For some viewers, a toy activating inside a sealed chest with no one near it lands differently than anything electronic. It feels deliberate, like something announcing itself. And if that's true, the question isn't whether it's still down there, it's whether it ever planned to stop. Now in this next clip, a man is riding his motorcycle alone down a dark, isolated road at night, heading to a wedding, when something on the roadside stops him cold. At that hour, there's usually nothing to see except the road ahead, so when something appears in the distance, it immediately stands out. Watch.
fuck! Oh fuck! Oh fuck! Oh fuck! Fuck, man! Oh fuck, bastard! Oh shit! Oh shit, man! Oh shit, man! Oh!
As his headlight stretches forward, it catches the outline of a figure walking along the road, tall, pale, and unnaturally still in the way it carries itself, not reacting to the approaching motorcycle, not stepping aside, just continuing forward, like it doesn't even acknowledge him being there. And that's where it starts to feel wrong. Some viewers believe what he encountered could have been a ghost, the kind often described in roadside sightings, figures that appear briefly, usually at night, sometimes tied to past accidents or tragedies, known to show up without warning and disappear just as quickly, leaving the person who saw them questioning what they just experienced. So if you were riding down that same road, alone, and that figure appeared in your headlights, would you slow down and try to understand what you're looking at? Or would you keep going and not look back? Now, in this next video, a man claims that every single night when he returns to his home, something is already there waiting for him, and he decides to prove it. The building itself looks abandoned in stretches, a barrack-style structure at the end of a dark gravel path, lit only by a single street lamp overhead. One night, he hears footsteps like someone running around the house. Shortly after, this happens.
I don't know what that was, so I'm gonna set up my camera right here. I can watch down the hallway.
Some viewers believe this kind of activity points directly to a poltergeist, but until more updates are shared, this remains unsolved.